People who let their mom count to 0. What happened? She went to get my dad. That's when I got worried lol. She actually kicked me out of the car and made me walk home. It was late, 10 p.m. or so, and dark, but I knew where I was. I started walking down the road and then there was a follow-up countdown to get me back in the car immediately. I wouldn't get out of bed. When she got to 0, she sighed and left the room. I snickered to myself and went back to sleep. Woke up approximately 2 minutes later to a pitcher of ice water being poured from head to toe down the length of my bed. We never had a problem after that. She could just rattle a glass of ice water from down the hall and I'd have my shoes and socks on by the time she got to the door. Very effective. My mom didn't count down. She counted up. She would put her fingers up dramatically and you knew each finger was your own failure at not doing what she wanted right then and there. She would calm down if you did what she wanted before she got to the second hand. She would whoop you if she got counting to the second hand. If she went back to the original hand to count more, you get whooped and lose everything in your room. We, siblings and I, never made it to the fourth hand of counting. But once when I did almost get to the fourth hand, I straight up tried to jump out of the car, wasn't in motion as we were at a light. But still, and just run away. The panic was real. I didn't know what I had done wrong at the time and I opened the door and went for it and got caught on the seatbelt and fell out of the car and hurt myself. But it stopped her from counting lol. She got the wooden spoon. Anyone else's mom have a giant wooden spoon? I was so pissed of that I stood there until she reached 0. Then she hit me in the arm with the hairbrush. Which was significantly big. It broke in two. I felt such a badass that I went on all that day showing the bruise in my arm and telling the story of how I broke the hairbrush in two. It hurt like hell, but I had a story. My mom stopped counting down after an incident with my older brother. He was around 4 at the time. He never let my mom get to 0. But one day he decided he would see what happened. He was playing outside the apartment in the street. My mom was yelling at him to come back. And then she started counting. He kept playing, testing her resolve. And then when she got to 0, she saw the car barreling down the street. She screamed for him to move. But he wouldn't. So she sprinted to him and pulled him out of the road right before the car got to where he was standing. That was the day she learned that when kids become defiant, counting doesn't work. My mom counted to 3. If I hadn't done the thing or started doing the thing by 3. The punishment varied according to age and how serious the thing was. When I was little it was spankings. But as I got older and had friends and cared about a social life, it was getting grounded. One time I tried to defy her and got grounded for a week. Can't remember what I was refusing to do. She marked the days I was grounded on the calendar with a big X. I said no, I wasn't grounded. She marked another X on the calendar. I kept saying no and melted down in a full-on tantrum. She kept marking X's. Ended up grounded for over a month. But she did let me earn time off my sentence with chores and stuff. But most of the time it was small stuff and I'd have certain privileges taken away. TV, video games, things like that. I got the belt and grounded for 2 weeks. For something I didn't do. But the worst part was I was going to miss a friend's birthday. So I told my mom I was going to my friend's birthday. She said no, of course. On my way out she yells, "If you leave, don't come back," so I don't. The police bring me home 2 or 3 days later. So my grounding was doubled. I don't remember how long this went on, but it was months. Smack. Once my mom got really mad at me because I didn't want to clean my older brother's room and threw me out of the house. I spent the day with the dog and my dad snuck me some ham. Good times. Edit. Why did I have to clean the room? Mainly because he never cleaned it. And for some reason my mom decided to raid the room. He was at work or college. So my mom decided to take her anger out on me by trying to make me clean it. It did not work. Silent treatment. If nothing else worked, my mom would enter a sort of, "apparently you know better than I do," state of mind and pretty much ignore everything I do from that point onwards. Of course her goal was to give me the feeling of her giving up on me and just leaving pathetic little me be. As one might guess, this always worked in her favor. My mother slapped me across the face only once in my life. I was being a shitty tween and deserved it. I was so mad. I went into her makeup bag and made a pretty realistic bruise on my face that I wore for a few hours. She was horrified at what she thought she'd done. When it mysteriously vanished after washing my face, she was pissed. No one here could answer honestly. Those kids didn't make it back to tell us. Honestly though, I did witness the result in a friend's house. Once his mom got to 0, she told him to get the kit. It was a set of boxing gloves for her and a helmet for him. They squared up and she went at him. He was allowed to dodge or block blows, but couldn't hit her back. When it was over he put the kit away and came back to playing GoldenEye. Pistols only in the basement. Yes, I remember exactly what we were playing. My father usually did the physical disciplining, but he wasn't at home at the time. Once my mom finished counting to 0, she started yelling at me and grabbed the paddle. She went on and on about how mad she was at me for making her do this. That it was really going to hurt. And even said "This is going to hurt me more than it hurts you." She was losing her mind and I was absolutely terrified. Then she grabbed my arm, drew back the paddle, swung it down, and tap. She just couldn't bring herself to physically hurt me. Tears were streaming down her face, she was so upset. God help me, but I laughed. The 12-year-old little shit that I thought it was absolutely hysterical. It was just that there was so much of a build-up. And that I knew truly believed that it was going to hurt like hell. But then, tap. I genuinely felt bad laughing but I couldn't stop. She then said something along the lines of, "You're in for it now." With her eyes all bugged out. She swung again and tap. That's when I started howling. I kept laughing through the next 7 or so hits. But they gradually started getting hard enough to not be funny. I did manage to stop laughing by the time I'd assumed the next hit would actually hurt. And played it up a bit. First and last time my mom ever hit me, as far as I can remember at least. I think all those kids are still on timeout. I think all those kids are no more. No, some of them are still around. I let my kids live. Though I'm a dad, so maybe this doesn't count for the statistics. One time I got to 3 with one of my kids and then I went to move and he ran down the hallway yelling "Ah" and jumped into bed being the outcome I was hoping for. It was really difficult to not laugh about it. I'm not really sure what the "ah" was in anticipation of. I wasn't going to hit him or anything. I was just going to pick him up and return him to bed again, and tell him to stay there again. So yeah, make me laugh and I'll let you live. As she reached the end of her count and her lips formed the word 0. Her eyes turned cold and still. Suddenly both eyes had merged into one. And I saw a gaping black hole within. I knew I shouldn't have peered inside but I did. Through the silent abyss I saw an ocean floor. It was dark. And I knew the surface was hidden miles above. The water was like a massive pool of ice and I was alone. Feeling so desperate and isolated I gazed around, hoping to find some form of life. But alas, there was none to comfort me. The sound of silence willowed like a shadow across the sand. I didn't know when and I didn't know where from. But the end was awaiting me somewhere deep within that abyss. I held my breath and shook my head violently. And suddenly I was back at home again. My mother was still standing there towering above me, wooden spoon in hand. I ran into my room. Never did I speak about what I saw that day. And never will I again. Edit. Didn't expect this to get any rep, let alone rewards. Thank you everyone so much. Put me on a plane alone to go live with my dad. Let dad count to 0 once about 6 months later. Woke up on the couch. We never talked about it but I suspect he punched me. He did golden gloves for a couple decades. When I was really young, my older brothers, all 10 years plus older, would tell me how mum would get and use the dog lead if she was serious. I never took notice of it really. Fast forward to being 15. My living room has a large round dinner table. And my brother and mum are in the same room. Upon reaching 0, I shit you not, She goes and gets this long metallic dog lead and starts lassoing it like a veteran cowboy. Then proceeds to chase me around the table. The whole time, I'm screaming to my brother to help me as his eyes paint up, poor guy. But we warned you, picture. In the end, I did what she wanted me to do. Don't mess with your mother, people. They're bloody tough. It was never my mom. It was my dad. I got the belt once or twice. But he preferred the switch. He let my sister and I pick it out our own, and we thought the thin ones would hurt less. We were stupid. They did not hurt less. Closing parenthesis. A favorite story in my husband's family, when he was about 4 to 5 years old. His mother got to 0. She broke the wooden spoon over his ass, and this kid stone cold turns to her and goes, "That didn't hurt. But I'll choose to behave." And that about sums up everything you need to know about him. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and hit the notification button. See you next time.